In Ichek Coexistence Academy, the boys are forced to coexist with the girls by throwing away their masculinity. Fudo Namura transferred there without knowing anything and was then surrounded in class by a group of armed girls. At the Five Swords meeting, they discuss about what to do with the new transfer student. The audience also gets to know that Namura started a brawl at his old school and injured more than 40 people, both serious and minor, though he was injured the most of all. In the school grounds, Namura meets Masuko, and is rather shocked at Masuko's cross-dressing appearance, and after Namura insults him, though accidentally by first calling him a Buddha and then a pig. Masuko tells him that a Buddha statue actually exists in the school, and that all boys have to dress like this to coexist with the girls in the school, and warns him not to do anything rash. Namura laughs it off, however, and says that he is a man who likes freedom and quiet. The audience can also see that Masuko is in the same class as Onagawara. After a bit of talking and introduction of the purpose of the Five Swords to keep the order in this school, Onagawara gives him the choice to either coexist or leave the school, in which Namura replied that he would take neither choice. She then declares that before homeroom is over, she will correct Namura. He then says the color of the girl's underwear out, distracting everyone whilst he jumps out of the window and runs. She follows him and asks him how far he is going to run, to which Namura replies by asking if it were allowed for him to leave the school grounds. She then tells him that he needs an exit permit from all Five Swords to exit. The other Five Swords all pay attention to their battle and commenting about Onagawara and Namura's skills. Mazanono, her subordinate, notices her fighting and leaves homeroom to go find her. Then, Onagawara uses Carpenter's Square and manages to cut Namura. Namura then takes out blade-proof gloves and they continue their fight. Namura eventually trips over a tree root, whilst Onagawara takes the opportunity to perform an outer rotation before using Cycle on Namura, almost taking him out if not for him moving with Shimmering Cloud again and getting to the side of Onagawara, putting his hand onto her side. Onagawara congratulates him for being able to touch her, then tells him that he is done for and raises her blade, to which he says that he has a gun while she has a sword. Onagawara smiles and moves the blade down. Namura then uses the magic bullet on Onagawara, which disables her and shocks everyone watching except Amo. Then, Namura explains that he modified the defective technique of a certain sword school and prevents Onagawara from taking her blade and punching him. Mazanono appears in the school grounds and hits Namura on the head, which causes Namura to accidentally kiss Onagawara, breaking the left side of her mask and shocking both of them. After Namura regains his senses, he quickly moves back and argues with Mazanono about the responsibility of the kiss. Then, Onagawara picks up the blade, which scares both Namura and Mazanono, who try to talk her out of killing Namura, and declares that she will castrate him, which Namura being astounded that she changed from correct to castrate. Later, it can be seen that Onagawara is still chasing Namura and trying to slice him, while Namura declares that he will get the exit permit. The next day in class, Namura is shown to be the center of attention whilst holding some cakes he got from the smuggler. Rumors of him possibly kissing girls when they let their guard down is rampant in the class. Namura then calls out Saki by her underwear color, much to her embarrassment. When Namura asks her about the whereabouts of Onagawara, she seems to blame him for something, and another girl, Yui, comes forward and scolds him for being insensitive. In the next scene, a young girl walking with her smiling mother is shown with the former wearing a demon mask and a whole scene in gray. Then it is shown that that was a dream that Onagawara had in her room. She then thinks about Namura and begins hitting her bed with her pillow while scolding Namura with a lot of words and phrases such as playboy, don't know when to shut up, pervert, before calming down and reflecting that it was the first time she got pinned down and kissed, before switching back to being angry and punching the pillow. Onagawara, though sensing a presence, picks up her 8-son sword and puts on her rather destroyed mask and faces the door, only for Namura to enter through the window and prevent her from taking her sword, stating that he was there for a sick visit whilst giving her the cakes. He then says that he could not tell her that she was cute due to her mask yesterday, and got lucky to kiss her, leaving her flustered. But when Namura asks for an exit permit, she states that she would not give one to him no matter what. Namura appears to get angry, but then states indirectly that he would like to see her in her casual wear, which led her to ultimately want to give him the certificate. However, when Namura stated that a few more kisses would then be a good trade for the certificate, she fainted as her fever got too high thanks to her feelings. Following that, Namura grabbed her clothes to prevent her from falling to the floor, accidentally popping a button and revealing her breasts, just as Mazanono enters the room, refusing to hear his explanations and pressing a button that activates loads of traps as Namura attempts to escape the girl's dormitory, all while declaring that she will castrate him. After causing a mess in the girl's dorm, Namura is put under supervision of Rin. However, he became the target of another Supreme Five Swords, Mary. While Rin held Mary back and Namura was chased by Choka, Nomura met with the Empress, who Nomura seems to know from before he transferred here. Nomura is now supervised not only by Rin but also by Mary. However, any outsider would say that they're not supervising him, but instead flirting with him. This angers the eldest member of the Supreme Five Swords, Warabai Hanasaka, and thus Nomura, Rin, and Mary are forced to participate on Bloodsport Day, the 13th Warabimpics. Thanks to Nomura's efforts, the Warabimpics have ended well. But Warabai isn't someone to give up so easily. She sets up a trap, inviting Nomura to come to the school to get his permission stamped from as a reward for his victory. But on his way, he faces Warabai 34. With the help of Rin, Mary, Nano, and Shoka, Nomura manages to advance. That is until he meets one of the Supreme Five Swords, Satori Temaba. Nomura seemed to have entered his popularity phase. Because of his great success at the Warabimpics, the girls of the school follow him with hungry eyes. Even though he spends his days as usual, even the slightest action from him is followed by a wave of cheers. Nomura himself doesn't really think much of it, but Rin and Mary don't think it's funny. But the happy times can't continue forever. One morning, while his bags get checked by Rin and Mary like always, something falls out of his pocket. Thanks to Satori's tricks, Nomura's reputation is on the ground. It was Warabai who has had an eye on him since the Warabimpics, who trapped him inside the punishment room when Rin and Mary were out of sight. Only through acquiring Satori's pictures can Nomura prove his innocence. Thinking like that, Nomura starts to attack Warabai as well as Satori in a public bath for ladies. Nomura is pretty disturbed by the fact that Satori isn't wearing any clothes. She still attacks him without any regard for his feelings. That's just the kind of monster she is. When Nomura opened his eyes, he was in the infirmary. After the battle with Satori, Warabai passed out and was brought in as well. Rin and Mary know nothing about Warabai and are concerned about Nomura and want to visit him, running into each other on the way. And while both of them forget what they were originally about to do, they start a strange fight. Meanwhile, Warabai faces a different problem in the infirmary. This morning was Nomura's worst so far. He woke up from a nightmare filled with his past, clouded memories colored in the red of blood. However, his attention was soon grabbed by the uproar happening in the dormitory, caused by those who wouldn't understand in what kind of state he is in. Apparently, a monster is in their bathroom. Meanwhile, in the girls' dorm, they have to deal with other problems because things keep disappearing, which shouldn't. And then the Empress, Amu, disappears as well. Tsukuyo Inabad is one of the Heavenly Five Swords with extraordinary skills. She fights using Yakimaru Jaikimyu. Facing her godlike speed, even Nomura can't help but be surprised as he realizes that her skill is far above his own. But their talks are interrupted when they hear sounds of a fight coming from the rooftop of the school. Nomura and Tsukuyo head there to see what is going on. But when they arrive, the Empress has already disappeared. Nomura screams, trembling with anger. The voices of them roar throughout the school. The intuition of Nomura was correct. The Empress was Amu, who once believed that he was a friend and was betrayed, fought, and deeply hated. Amu also remembers the old memories. With the bitter memories that were awakened, the rematch is now being cut off. Nomura will use Magic Bullet through the automatic counterattack and the defense of the Iron Wall to reach Amu. Since the transfer, the days at the lively and fun school that Nomura spent with the circles. It was a day when the suffering of hell was played by the sword as if the body was burned by flames. During the battle, various thoughts come to each other's hearts. However, no matter how much the fists are mixed, the wishes of them never overlap. The more they understand each other, the farther they are from our hearts. And when it's finally settled, in heavy rain, Nomura and Amu finally arrived. Thank you guys for watching. Anacap's here, and please consider subscribing for future content.